Well, hello there, I'm Axel the Beast, and this is the Curiosity Shop, the Zelda Dungeon video mailbag, where I answer your Zelda questions. Our first question comes from Evil Genius. Hey Axel, since you explained that Majora's Mask was your favorite game, then what's your least favorite Zelda game? It would probably be Wind Waker, followed closely behind by Twilight Princess, and I know I talk a lot about Twilight Princess and Wind Waker. Not to insult the games, they're great games. As I've said, they're Zelda games, and Zelda's my favorite series, so they're way at the top of my favorite game list. That said, I think they both shied a lot away from elements that made the series classic back in the day, you know, the old games. And I think a steady stream of titles coming out since then have been less and less like that, and I think these were kind of the climax of that. I barely like Twilight Princess better than Wind Waker. In fact, in some ways, Wind Waker is a lot better than Twilight Princess, in my opinion. There's just some aspects that bug me a little more about Wind Waker than Twilight Princess. I think it was the sailing, probably, but that's probably a pretty common complaint. Our second question is from Ocarina Fan. What Zelda games have you beaten with 3 hearts, and were they hard? Well, first of all, for those who don't know, this is talking about a 3-heart challenge, which is basically where you complete the whole game and never get any additional hearts. You only play through the game with the first 3 hearts you start with, and that's a pretty impressive challenge sometimes. It's not possible with all the games. Like A Link to the Past, you can't do it, because you always are forced to get the hearts the bosses give you. Anyway, to answer your question, I have beaten a 3-heart challenge on the Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, and Minish Cap. It was not really hard at all for me on Wind Waker and Twilight Princess, especially Wind Waker. Wind Waker for me was painfully easy, even with only 3 hearts. In Twilight Princess I had a couple trouble at certain points, particularly in the Cave of Ordeals, but that was also because I was using only the Zora armor, which, as you know, fire and ice enemies do double damage to you. That's kind of my problem with those 2 games. It's a key problem, kind of tying into the last question. I kind of just bugged me a lot how easy they were, because I'm pretty good at games. Not to brag. But you know I like to brag anyways, so it's not like it means anything. Shea Hernandez asks, do you think it would be a good idea to bring back the top-down perspective like the original Zelda games? Why or why not? I've answered a similar question like this before, I believe, from Smitty, I think. Yeah, although Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks were basically that kind of perspective too, they just weren't sprite-based. And I think that's kind of what you're talking about. I do think they should bring back that style, either not sprite-based or sprite-based, just because, you know, fans really like it, including me. Classic fans really want the classic gameplay back, and we haven't been getting that. And it just would induce some it would cause some gameplay variety. There's always all kinds of Zelda games running around. Why not bring back an old one? No one would mind that, I don't think. Cordy asks, so, do you think the monster design and style of Twilight Princess was more disturbing and mature than Ocarina of Time? Yeah, that's another one of my problems with Twilight Princess, actually. Basically, the game was a bunch of bongos and dead hands. I mean, in Twilight Princess, in Ocarina of Time, you had some disturbing foes, and some of them might have even been scarier than anything Twilight Princess threw at you. But Twilight Princess, all the monsters were just ghastly. Now, they might not necessarily top some other monstrosities, I mean, I'm pretty sure you can be sure of that, but they just had this creepier feel to them, and I think that kind of hampered the game a bit. That's just me. I'm going to do an upcoming video about the darkness of Twilight Princess versus the darkness of Majora's Mask, so you can look forward to a little more of me elaborating on this in that video. Tyler Vidal asks, do you think that Ganondorf's appearance in Twilight Princess made the game's plot worse? Why or why not? Yes, I think it did a little. The game's plot, in my opinion, my perspective, is that the whole game's plot revolved around Midna and Zant. Everything in the game was talking about their story, their relationship, the Twilight Realm, etc. I think Ganondorf was a little thrown in there. He was sort of... He just felt like he didn't go in with that Twilight theme. He didn't go with Zant, and that Zant should have been the only enemy in that game. I think the game was probably even designed. It just feels to me like the game was actually designed for Zant to be the only villain, and that they threw in Ganondorf. That's my opinion, but some people do share it, and I think it's a legitimate concern. I hope that they don't do that again. I hope they don't rush it. If Ganondorf's going to be put in, he needs to be taken seriously. Eric Bocas asks, why do you think that the creators of Zelda never made a Master Quest for Majora's Mask? Master's Quest was basically a one-of-a-kind. It was a one-time thing that they did for Ocarina of Time. They never really did it again. I don't even know what made them come up with it. Just wanted to make made some kind of new Zelda game that wasn't a full game, and they just made it a harder version of Ocarina of Time. I don't know where it came from, but it was a one-time thing, so it's not that surprising Majora's Mask didn't get one. I would like it if every Zelda game would get one, because I think it's a brilliant idea and a brilliant solution to the low difficulty level of recent games. Like, as I've talked about before, have a second quest and have it be basically a Master Quest, remixed dungeons. I think that would appease both sides of the ever-conflicting argument relating not only to Zelda, but to video games in general. Hardcore guys want it really hard, so it's just insane, and the casual gamers want it really easy, so they can just get through it. And believe me, I've seen both sides. And the hardcore gamers are nuts, and the light gamers aren't really good at games. I don't mean to offend anyone, I'm just making a joke. Joseph Crowley asks, do you think they will make two versions of Zelda Wii? One with Wii Motion Plus and one with classic controls? No, not at all. I don't think they'll do that, and I don't think there's any chance of that, actually. It'd just be too much work, and as I've said before, they're not compatible control schemes. I said that last video, I think, very last mailbag. Basically, they just wouldn't go together. There'd be a huge translation of the gameplay that would have to be involved, and I think it'd be way too much work and kind of unnecessary. Why change the game from what it is and what it was designed to be? It just doesn't make sense to me. Eric Harmon asks, what do you think the chances are of us seeing Zelda Wii have a left-handed option for lefties? I actually think that's definitely going to happen. I don't think it would be very smart. I think it would be quite stupid for Nintendo to make the game without a left-handed option if they're going to have Wii Motion Plus. I just hope it's not a mirroring of the game thing like Twilight Princess did when it was ported onto the Wii. In fact, generally with the motion controls, there's things that the Wii version of Twilight Princess did that I think should be completely avoided, like the plague. As I might have made clear, I don't like the port of Twilight Princess onto the Wii. I think as far as the motion controls are concerned and the general translation of the game, I think it was done very poorly, and I would really be sad to see that repeated with Zelda Wii. And I know I'm stuck up, and I know I have talked a lot about my problems with Twilight Princess. This is not with Twilight Princess. This is with motion controls in Twilight Princess. And also, I've made it a point to think I'm hot stuff and know exactly what Zelda Wii is going to be like. I don't. But I think, in my mind, that the chances are extremely high we're going to have the left option. I would be shocked if we didn't. And annoyed. Very annoyed. You know I'm irritable. The Beckinator asks, where do you stand on the whole who in the world is that lady on the new Zelda artwork thing? I think it's a partner like Zelda was in Spirit Tracks, but I've heard talk of her being the Master Sword or the Great Fairy. What do you think? Well, she's definitely the partner for the game, if you ask me, like the Navi or the Midna or whatever. I don't think there's any chance, really, that she's not your partner. She's going to be with you through the whole game. She's going to have something to do with the plot. Well, maybe. Navi didn't, but whatever. And she's going to probably be your hint system throughout the game. I do think, I can't really speculate on what she is or who she is. I mean, I can speculate, but I'm not going to be able to say anything with certainty. The theories I've heard, I think I've touched on this before, is one is that she's the Master Sword, or the spirit of the Master Sword. They do this because she has a resemblance to the Master Sword's design, and because of that, she does have quite a resemblance. That might be true, and Link doesn't have a sword in the screenshot, so it might be true that the reason he's not holding a sword is because she's the sword. Additionally, they've also talked about her being the Great Fairy. In fact, I've mentioned this, that she looks a lot like the Great Fairy in Wind Waker. I think that's interesting, possible, and I would like that, because I liked a lot of things about Wind Waker, even though I complain about the game a lot. I think it'd be interesting to see some of those themes return, and that's a character we haven't seen before or since Wind Waker. And I've also heard people talk about her being a Zora, but I don't really agree with that at all, because I don't think she looks like a Zora. More of me being stuck up. Final question. Bill Perry asks, do you think that Ganondorf will be the main antagonist in Zelda Wii? Again, I can't be sure of this kind of thing. Ganon works well. He hasn't been wrong in any games, really, except Twilight Princess. You know my complaints there. he worked well, and he was a good villain in all the games he appeared in. New villains are good. I like the games with like Vati and General Onyx, and even that one where Twin Rover were basically the villains, the Oracle games. Even though Ganon appeared at the end, the Twin Rover were the main villains, or maybe Onyx and Varan were. I don't know, but I just don't want it to be like Twilight Princess Ganon, where they throw him in. If they're gonna do him, they need to do him right. They need to take time to do him and make it make sense. I don't mind him being brought back again and again and again and again and again and again. I just don't want it to be done poorly. I want it to make sense. It's got to be done well. It's just disrespectful to the awesome character that is Ganondorf otherwise. Alright, that's it for this time, guys. Be sure to send your questions to the email address in the description, not in the comments, please. And I'll see you guys next time.